The problem with this 2002 Sprinter is that it just took too long to start in the morning. It would crank over and over and over before firing up finally. Once it was running, it was fine, however. The starter motor is fine, the battery is strong, but the problem is the engine was taking too long to build enough fuel pressure in order to start. So the first sign of trouble was that we noticed through all these plastic diesel fuel lines, we could see air bubbles traveling through. Now there should be no air in the fuel system on these diesels. So when it was stopped, you could see a little air bubble there, and when it was running, you could also see the bubbles traveling through as well. So air in the fuel on these vehicles is an indication that there's a leak. They used an interesting combination of fuel lines. We've got metal fuel lines for the high pressure system. We've got traditional rubber fuel lines going from the common rail return, also down to the tank and back. But there's also all of these hard plastic, clear plastic fuel lines. They've got these interesting horseshoes shaped connector clips on them. They're all old and plastic, so little bits break on them. But the problem after all these years has been the O-ring seals. What happens to them when they get old is that they simply perish. They become hard, they crack, and they begin to leak. So what we're going to do here is we're going to replace about half a dozen of these seals and all these plastic lines. The interesting thing about these early Sprinters is that they used 2 fuel pumps up on the engine, and it was a little bit of a shortcoming in the design as they get older. So there is the high pressure fuel pump, which supplies the common rail injection system. This one here uses a lift pump. So this pump actually sucks or draws the fuel all the way up from the tank towards the engine. Later model Sprinters and most other diesel vehicles actually use an electric fuel pump in the tank, which pushes the fuel up. So this works fine, except when there's leaks in the fuel system. So if these leaks were allowed to continue, the engine would generally run fine when it is running, but it would become harder and harder to start because when there's air in the fuel system, it's very, very difficult for the pump, the high pressure pump, to build enough pressure in the common rail system, because these engines won't run if the fuel pressure is too low. The fuel pressure must reach a minimum value before the injectors will fire. So if you've got one of these early Mercedes Sprinters from about year 2000 up to 2006, how often should you do this kind of maintenance? Well, this is an interesting case. This is a 2002 Sprinter, so it's 24 years old, but it only has 78,000 kilometers on it, which is very, very low. So these seals weren't worn out, but they simply just perish due to old age. If this were my vehicle, I'd be wanting to do this kind of maintenance about every 5 years to ensure that there's no leaks in the fuel system.